So just a couple things here before we get started. I feel like I'm really excited about today's chat. So I just want to really get into that. Just a couple fun things. Actually, Lindsay, do you mind to grab them for me? They're right next to the sound bowls there. We was having a little technical difficulties here with my camera. I did a big shoot all weekend, and I thought I cleared off my SD cards, and they say there's no content, but then it says there's only 8 minutes left on the card, but there's nothing on it. I don't know. So we'll see how it all works with the phone. But nonetheless, I wanted to share with you a couple Valentine's Day cards, since yesterday was Valentine's Day indeed, and a little bit of a quick backstory here. And last night, I get home. Again, I was like working all day basically. And after dinner, we decide, we're going to give our kids some Valentine's Day things. So we go into the other room to fill out our kids' cards. I didn't know what Valentine's Day cards Lindsay had purchased, and I'm totally not throwing. She said one time, she's like, yeah, you're not giving me an opportunity to give my side of the story. So I'm aware it's a very one-sided story here, and you're more than welcome to come share your side. So I go to the other room with her to fill out these cards, and she's like, I think I grabbed the not right cards for the kids. I'm like, well, what do they say? And I'm like, where'd you get them? She's like, I don't know. We were checking out at Trader Joe's, and I just grabbed a couple. And I was like, all right, that's not a good start. What do we got on our hands? She says, well, the first one just says, totally bananas for you. This is for our kids. And it says, I think you are very appealing. Happy Valentine's Day. Not too bad. You could get away with that. A 10, 12-year-old probably would be like, okay, sus, but it's cool, whatever. Got the candy, And then this one, she's like, they just looked cute. I'm like, that's true. I'm like, they tell you what they say on the back if you read. She's like, I didn't know that. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Here's your chance to redeem yourself. So we open it. She's like, I just don't think we should sign this one for the kids. I'm like, what the hell does it say? Our love is the perfect blend of classy and trashy. Will you be my Valentine? So I'm all, you're asking me if we should sign these to our kids? Dog, the only thing we're doing with these is taking them to Current and sharing them with everybody tomorrow morning. That's the only thing. And in our defense, Mary had this great phrase. She says, life's not busy, it's full. And I think that's a very good way to say it. Busy implies it's a bunch of stuff you don't want to be doing and you got to deal with to get off your list. Full means you got a lot going on. You don't really have time for anything, but it's all things generally that you want to do. So we'll go with the latter. Life has been very full for us lately, and it shows. Grabbing random cards. So our kids luckily were spared from the perfect blend of classy and trashy. Just saying. So hopefully you had a good Valentine's Day, however you celebrate that. It was pretty low-key for us. We don't put too much emphasis on the Hallmark holidays, but they're still fun nonetheless. A couple things here. For those of you that are coming to the retreat, just want to remind you that you have some emails in your inbox, and be sure to be looking at that as we approach this next week. I shared just some intentions for where we're at, and so in a packing list and a schedule and things of that nature. So just be mindful of your inbox. I'll be sending you some more stuff this week, so just wanted to mention that about the retreat. For those of you that aren't joining us for the retreat, sorry. It's okay. You can drop in on the next one. But it's going to be a really special time, and for those of you that are going, I'm feeling very good about it. And in the midst of all the chaos of things that are happening, we were just talking, a few of us that were here early, just like, spaces just hold energy. And you could be in the quietness of your home, or we try to create this container to be a very still and reflective place for a moment in time. But the truth is, we're still in an area with, the energy of this place and space and people carrying all that they're carrying. And when Corey Lynn and I were out at Quest Haven on Thursday just to do some walkthrough stuff, I was just reminded of how light that atmosphere is. And so even if you're not joining us for the retreat, I just encourage you, like in general, in some way in your life, find time and space to like get out of the city limits and listen to that silence and just be away. There is something about physically being away from the energy that not only people carry, but then cities carry. You know, like I was sharing, like there's some places I just drop into and I'm just like, I don't know about the vibe here. I want to like it. It's like, I was telling them like Eureka, California is every time I go, I think I'm going to love it. And I get there and I'm like, I feel like I'm in a horror movie. I don't know why. It's just a feeling I get. Just feels like somebody's waiting behind a redwood tree to like, I don't know, chop my head off or something. I don't know. It just, I want to love it so bad, but you feel places. And we were talking about even the difference of Oceanside and Encinitas and different places, and just encourage you to find yourself out in nature more often than not. Nature church is the best. So we are a weird, unique space here. We're hybriding these two worlds of the church world and the spiritual community, and we're finding our way through all of this. And so I just want to encourage you that if you're new around here or just, figuring out who we are or trying to figure out who we are too. So we're all on the same boat there. But we do have some things on the resource table that can kind of help give you, just a better understanding of who we are and what we do. I have a couple resources available. And if the Jesus sitting in lotus posture doesn't tell you enough, I don't know what else will. So if you have questions, though, I just would love to talk more about this space and the community with you if you're new today. So with that, I want to invite you to a moment of pause and meditation. And Lindsay, do you mind to light our candles? There's a lighter behind the thing over there, the sign. And as we prepare to light the candles, again, many of us are coming from a lot of stuff that we're responsible for in life. A lot of people we're responsible for, a lot of things that are changing in the world, a lot of just stuff, man. And first and foremost, what we hope this space to be is just kind of a place of pause from the world and its systems and the demands and the chaos, and allow a container for a deep breath to be had, and to suspend all of the thoughts and the narratives and the stories that we have about our life, about reality, and allow ourselves to recenter and recalibrate to a realm, to an order of divinity. And so I just want to invite you to join me with that as the intention this morning, as we set our mind above. So find yourself in your seat, taking deep breaths. You can close your eyes if you feel so led. And as you find the rhythm of your breathing, I invite you to join with me in the intention of setting this light above. That as we symbolically raise this light above us, this candle above us, we're setting our minds above where Christ is seated, where the anointing, the divine mind, the awareness from above, to be able to show us all the spaces and places in our life that we are invited to heal. God, we welcome your presence to be able to help us to see, to realize, to feel our inner wholeness. We thank you that no matter what happens or doesn't happen on the surface, that well of living water within us is always available. So we ask now, Holy Spirit, to help us drop in to the heart, to remain in a space of openness, that we will be able to listen through the tone of voice of our true self. That the narrative of our inner accuser would be able to be turned down a few notches. That we would be ready to receive insight, first from you, your Spirit, and then from each other, as we share this journey with each other, walking each other home. Thank you for illumination and enlightenment. So be it.
If your eyes are not already closed, I'll invite you to close them down now. Placing your feet flat on the ground beneath you and placing your palms on your lap, facing upward toward the sky if that feels good to you. Inviting the breath to deepen, inviting the mind to quiet. Beginning to deepen the breath, bringing it in through the nose, sending it all the way down to the base of your spine, perhaps holding that breath inside. And slowly exhaling that breath out. Allowing your exhale to be twice as long as your inhale. And doing that again, inhaling that breath all the way down to the base of your spine. Holding that breath at the top. And allowing a nice long exhale out your mouth. Inviting that breath to begin touching the deep places within that you feel holding. Anywhere you feel tightness. With each inhale, inviting space, inviting ease. With each exhale, allowing that breath to carry out anything blocking you from this moment, from being fully present. Welcoming this opportunity to block out the distraction, the outside noise, that buzzing of energy contained outside this building. And instead, choosing to focus on the sounds you hear inside of this building. With each breath and each moment, there's always that choice. And I'll invite you to imagine that candle that we placed above our head, that light above. Making a choice in this moment to connect with that light and allow it to truly shine down on you. Covering you with warmth, with love. And on your next inhale, I'll invite you to imagine pulling this light down through the crown of your head. Feeling the ease as you invite this light further down into your body. Feeling it move down your forehead. Over your cheeks, over your jaw, down your throat, and over your neck. Over your shoulders, and down into the space of your heart. And pausing here, allowing the light to begin to flood into anywhere that darkness lies. Knowing that only this presence of light within the heart can drive out that darkness. And allowing yourself this moment to truly surrender to that. to begin to travel further down your torso. Over your hips, down your legs, and finally down to your feet. Allowing that light to illuminate your entire body. To become one. To drive out any darkness. To soothe any heartache. To provide clarity where there's confusion. This light that is outside of us and inside of us, that is everywhere we look. Should we have eyes that choose to see it? next inhale, I'll invite you to again connect with your heart, imagining your breath flowing to this space. Taking a moment of gratitude for this moment of stillness, for this light that illuminates not only you and your entire being, but all of us in this room. We are all one. We are all just walking each other home. And on your next exhale, I'll invite you to imagine sending this light down from your heart all the way to the tips of your toes and out to those surrounding you in this room. Inhaling it back in through the crown of your head, down to the space of your heart. Exhaling it out, down your legs, out your feet, and to those surrounding you. And pulling it back in through the crown of your head, creating this beautiful circulation of energy, of gratitude. Of recognition that the light that is within me is the light that is within you. And taking another inhale to that space of the heart and exhaling, imagining that circle widening to the entire community here in Carlsbad. And lastly, down into the space of the heart and out to the entire world. These small moments of intention and sharing energy, sharing the love and the light that is within all of us. Is one way that we can facilitate change. Bringing yourself back to the present moment, back to this room, allowing life to flow into your fingers, your toes, and gently blinking your eyes open. Allowing that light to continue flowing through you and this space as we receive this conversation and message today.
So as I'm sitting there in meditation and hearing all the sounds and all the stuff, sometimes it's more noisy than others for our meditation time. And I just feel like that is a reflection of our own life. Sometimes it's a little bit more noisy than others, you know? And the key is, can you stay grounded and navigating it all as all of the sounds come and go and distractions come and go. And so thank you for leading us through that, Mary. I think it was beautiful. And I don't know if you realize that you made a Gospel of Thomas reference there. The kingdom is in you and also outside of you both. So today we are going to have a conversation. We use this phrase a lot, that we're all just walking each other home. And this is a Ram Dass quote. And, especially when we were using the language of church a lot more, I always loved that, we were a church using a Ram Dass quote because, if you want to split the crowd really quick, you start, using Ram Dass quotes in Christian-oriented spaces. So I like to do that. So this phrase, though, has really come up time and time again as being kind of a staple point for us, so much so that I put it on the back of a sweatshirt, and I get a few emails every once in a while from people that are upset that we're, using Ram Dass' quote. And I'm like, you clearly haven't listened to his lectures if you care about that. But nonetheless, the point is, and like I always share with these people, A, nobody really buys any of our merch anymore, so you can relax there. And two, B is that, that came out of this community. And like I reminded this individual the other day, we are not a brand, we're not a business, we're not a company or corporation. Well, actually we are a California corporation, we're a nonprofit. So I take that part back. We don't function like one, I can promise you. But the point is we're not a clothing company. We're here to remind each other, and that came out of this space. And so I wanted to talk more about this because this is a theme that came up in a conversation I had with my dear friend Ryan Neace on the phone a couple weeks ago, and I invited him to join me to have a deeper conversation with this theme of walking each other home. So I'd like to invite Ryan up to have a conversation with me. Welcome, Ryan. Yes, take this guy while you're grabbing that. Yes, join me on the magic carpet, my friend. We'll see where it takes us.
I feel a little bit like when I watch you sit up here, I'm worried about being fat guy on the little chairs.
Well, dude, like everybody that I have join me, I give you the strong, sturdy, old.
I see that.
Older one. This is Amazon rickety garbage.
It looks like you're about to fall off.
Yes, this is, early 2000s real solid Japan Tama drum kit material here.
Right on.
So,
you did well. I feel safe.
Yeah.
Reasonably safe.
Reasonably is the important part. So just a little background for those of you, a lot of times what I'll do is invite people just to have a podcast style conversation, because podcasts are, let's be honest, we all get down on the podcast game. And I've in the past, being a podcast host and things, I love just talking with people and inviting them to share. And I think in this space, just giving more opportunity, you're saying, I see you up here, whatever, and I feel like a vocational calling to share. I tried to push that away for a long time, but I feel like that's part of my path. But I do like to, as periodically and as frequent as possible, invite people from the community. It's current collective after all. So we should hear from each other.
Indeed.
And so I feel like what people don't realize though is then they come up here and they're like, oh man, it feels different on the carpet, you know?
I just noticed that everyone is close. I want to be like,
yeah.
but I'll try not to.
Yeah. So I just want to jump into it with you because I feel like our conversations, there are certain people in life that you feel like just whatever you're laying down, they're picking up, you know, and vice versa. And I feel like from the first time we ever had a chat, it was like just that very much like, yeah, like it didn't take a lot of articulation to know like we're functioning in that same space, on that same wavelength. And so I just was curious if you would mind to just share kind of your perspective of how you found yourself into this space and our first conversation that we had and some of your origin story that I feel like is very important for many people to resonate with.
Yeah, was the first conversation that we had at my house that sort of extended one? Is that what you're talking about?
That one, but then also I just mean like when you were like, you dropped in on this chair over here and I love, and you correct me in any way, but I love
Lord,
what I remember you saying is like, I give this kind of like vibe that like standoffish, but I'm actually like a big, like, you know, softy really, you know?
Yeah, I've learned to telegraph that I have resting, you know what face sometimes. So it's part of how I learned to carry myself in the world and trying to come off some of that. Sometimes I throw it out. Hey, I know I look like I'm warding you off, but I swear I'm not staring you down.
Yeah.
Mean mugging you. I found current through that bastion of, you know, I don't know what, creativity, genius, warmth, wisdom called Instagram. But gosh, how the heck did I end up here? I think maybe part of the reason why we hit it off is that I grew up in I was at church 3 times a week, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, sometimes more. And I went to a church that, I don't know if you remember me saying the name, it was called Full Gospel Tabernacle.
Heck yeah.
That tells you anything about the flavor. Mm-hmm.
Do we speak tongues at every service or just Wednesday night?
It was variable, man.
Okay.
You never know what's getting ready to go down in here.
Yeah.
Seriously. Might be, you know, all kinds of stuff.
I love on our phone conversation, you're like, yeah, it's like it's supposed to be holy to not prepare for the message.
Correct. That's right. The Holy Spirit can only move you spontaneously.
Right.
You cannot be prepared for this. But you know what's interesting, to differentiate my story right away from what I hear a lot these days, is I really did not. It's taken me a long time for this to sort of be clear for me, but I really did not feel super injured by those environments like some people do. As a matter of fact, I was at dinner with a friend of mine last night whose big part of her story was going through church systems and, you know, lots of really funky stuff. And she's one of these people that sometimes when I'll be talking with other people, clients of mine or friends or whatever, who have a similar church story, but then I'll be like, wait, what did they say to you? They said what? Like, and so the like constellation of church experiences that people can have, ranging from, yeah, you know, quite good and my impression of church growing up was that it was a place where people generally cared about me. And I had some protective factors. I remember my dad saying to me one time as we were walking in, and I have no idea, looking back, I'll have to ask him, and I don't know if he'll remember precisely because he was famous for one-liners like this, but he said, don't check your brain at the door with your coat when you go into church. And yet he wasn't like I did not experience him as like a big burr in the saddle constantly or something, but so I was encouraged pretty early on to take things into like an internal reservoir and consider them. Mm-hmm. And then I had some level of felt autonomy within my family and within my church system to kind of do that. Mm-hmm. I get that a lot of people did not, and that sort of oppressive streak that a lot of people feel is something that I've learned in working things out with others. But for me, if there was an injury, it was probably at the intersection of family and church. So even though I'm saying this thing about my dad, and he's super wise, and that's true, there's also a lot going on in my house growing up. And so if anything, I was more like confused at the like disparity between sort of like the message at church, which again was generally positive, accepting, And then about 50% of the time in my household it was like that, and the other 50% of the time it was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
And so that not only that sort of that was there's a fracture there. It was that, and so that sort of led long term into what I do for a living and all that. Is that making sense so far?
Yeah. I think what I appreciate about your story, and I say a lot of times that people come into this space from two doors. One is like from sort of like a Christian background of some sort. Their relationship with it is on a large continuum, maybe they have experienced real trauma and hurt. And then other people like even like similarly, like I have a lot of critiques of like the model and the system and the theology and all of that, but I don't really have like a lot of wounds from the things that I was, subjected to. I feel actually very, kind of cushioned from some of the other PK stories that I've heard over the years. I'm like, yikes, dude, you had to do that? Even take out the trash too? Whoa. Yeah. Didn't have to do any of that. That's sweet. So like what I think I like, and then our other side is like where people come from a spiritual, more like a non-Christian space where the wisdom of Jesus just comes up in some way. Maybe you start going to self-realization fellowship and you see Jesus next to Krishna and all these people, and you're like, wait a second, I thought he was like a white guy that the evangelicals liked, and how is he here at SRF, So, and then it's like there's people that are trying to understand like what to make of the wisdom teachings of Jesus from a non-conditioned background, which is always very sweet to me, just like on a fun riffing with you here, because that's what we do best.
It's fun to watch people pick that up, you mean?
Yeah, like somebody was sharing with me a story and from within the community, and it was so endearing to me because I'm like, oh, that's the story of the prodigal son. And they're like, huh? And I'm like, I love, like, the people that I come from, like the traditions that I come from, to reach the lost, to try to find somebody who doesn't know the parables, like, it's just crazy that, like, I have friends here that are like, I don't know, like, it's all so fresh and new to them. Yeah. And I feel like a very much a conscious responsibility to, like try to help walk through that with people, but also not like tinge it in a way that is towards, that's what it always is, walking people, and not to let the cat out of the bag, but you are a therapist by trade. And so like learning that, like, how much is it,
So yes, I'm analyzing all of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not really.
Right.
Or I already did. I'm still here.
Yeah, that's a great sign. I feel like I passed some kind of test. I don't pass tests very often.
It's made me roll up my sleeves. I don't know what that meant. But
yeah.
All right, let's do this.
So I feel like, with your story and your background, I feel like you're able to learn that sort of balance very well in your own life, and like, so I feel you in the way of like, trying to help people navigate things and try to reach some conclusions without like tainting it too much with my own preference and versions and things.
I actually reached it's interesting, that intersection, talking about the two doorways of coming in. At a certain point, it actually kind of trended in the opposite direction for me. Not long after I had gotten married, I remember, I was thinking about this morning on the way here. I haven't thought about it in a long time, but we were going to regular old church still pretty regularly, but we started talking a lot, and we're like, energetically almost, this does not make sense anymore. If anything, I'm starting to, the people that come from self-realization fellowship, and all of a sudden and actually the truth is I had been growing wider and wider in the people that I listened to and read, and all of a sudden I met Henry Nouwen, and then I met Thomas Merton and Richard Rohr. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't know what we're doing here. And this is just, you remember? Gosh, it gets me choked up in a way. I'm like, I don't know what we're doing here anymore. Like, I don't understand what this is. What are we doing? What is this thing that we're doing on Sunday morning? How does this seem to apply to anything else that's going on around us? And that was like the beginning of the end for me. And actually, this is where I've had so many lucky, grace-filled like happenstances. I remember within that time frame, I talked to a guy who had been a professor of mine in grad school, and he was himself a former pastor. He was a pastor for like 30 years or something. Finished a PhD at Penn State and was teaching counseling stuff. And he's like, I was telling him this. I'm like, I just don't know what the hell we're doing. Like, none of this makes any sense to me anymore. And I didn't have a lot of words to wrap around it even. Just like energetically, I come here and I'm like, and he goes, oh, well, why don't you just like stop going? And I was like, is that a thing? I'm pretty sure where I come from, that's not a thing. That's the exact last thing you do. But I did really quickly. On the other hand, turned around and that was like the last week, and then for about 2 years we took a solid break. And so, and that the break and the postlude from the break and the where I am today is having gone through a bunch of other doorways. It's like I went back out this doorway and then I came back in through the Self-Realization Fellowship door. And I know you've talked, there's a similar outline with, finding your way into the study of multiple religions and being helped by, Buddhism and Hinduism and yet not, this hasn't primarily been an enterprise of the mind. Like I didn't learn a bunch of new things and then thought, oh, well, it is like I've been being pulled. So it's like I was pulled out the back door, pulled right around, came back through this door, and then now I'm still like, wait a minute, I'm here again? And so I feel really at home in the at-large conversation. And because so much of the work that I do with people is about, I would say at any given time, maybe 30 or 40% of the client work that I do in some very meaningful way touches on religious, spiritual, whether it's recovering from injury or it's just like, what the hell, who am I and what's going on in the world? Yeah.
So and this is kind of where I want to focus in on for a few, because our phone chat was really good about this, because we were talking about just different things surrounding current and stuff and kind of what we're doing. And I love that you are bringing up and something that I've been considering a lot is like, how helpful is the language of church really for what we do here? And I use it in a very subversive way, because it's 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, and I do want to provide an alternative option. And in the true sense of the word, I do think it is church. I think what we're doing here is church. I just don't think it might be helpful sometimes, all of the mental pinging that happens in the neurons that have found their way into particular grooves when people hear that word,
That's the part I'm always thinking about, right?
People are like, oh, are you a pastor? And I'm like, as soon as I say anything, if that, people immediately are like, oh, like I got to pull my act together. And,
It's better than being a therapist.
That's true.
When you tell people that you're a therapist, the next thing is what's going on in their life, and you're like at a party. It's like being like a dermatologist at a party and asking them, can you look at this mole?
Right.
No, I'm at a party. I don't want to look at your moles.
I will say, I totally agree with you, except for the fact that they think most pastors think they really should be in hell for all of eternity and burning after this life. So I got a couple more hoops to jump through in terms of like.
Problem, right? What do you guys think? Okay.
No, I'm more Journey of Souls vibes. On some days, I don't know. We'll see.
It depends.
I don't know. I like to take my posture of the afterlife is a very sophisticated I don't know, and it doesn't really matter, actually.
That's my posture with most things.
I think the more you walk into wisdom, that is that. But there's like a weird thing that happens. I can riff on that. I'm going to let that horse run right by me. Because I want to talk about, because we are, as we come to a particular close-ish, I do think that the theme that was coming up about carrying each other and holding each other through all the things that we're going through. And I think not only the vocation you do, but kind of what we're trying to do here is we're used to institutions, organizations, people, places, authorities, whatever, that have titles, position, power, to give us some sort of rubric to try to find okayness and acceptance and to heal our insecurities for us. And no one, I tell people all the time, I'm in this vein because I believe change is possible in people's lives. I believe transformation is possible. It's happened. I've changed in my own life. I've witnessed it in people around me. I will say, though, the path is narrow and few will find it. However, I do think it's possible, but it only ever happens from within one's own will and being and choices. And so trying to facilitate a kind of space where it's kind of a church-ish, but like we don't have creeds and doctrines and dogmas, and I don't have a membership class for anybody to go through or anything like that. but yet we are trying to help move each other towards this something. And you shared a beautiful story about like the real like focus and purpose is the holding each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so can you share a little bit more about that story and that part of our conversation?
Yeah, and I think the language that I like around it is we are holding each other, and then we're holding each other as we're all trying to hold just sort of what it means to be human. And again, taking a lot of cues from, I spend my days talking with people about what's going on in their lives, talking about their relationships and the ways that everything that's going on in culture is sort of a macrocosm, ends up in the microcosm of their own lives, and chaos and fear and abuse. And but like a resounding theme therapeutically a lot of times is that people like kind of want to know, what's wrong? What's wrong that this thing is happening in my life? And of course, mental health therapists have all kinds of diagnoses to tell you. And while those may tell you like what we call the thing that you're going through, they really don't tell you a lot more than that. We use them like they tell you everything. In fact, it's just the name. My name's Ryan. You don't know a whole lot about me besides that. Similar. So like part of the package is, I find myself saying this a lot, like, no, nothing's wrong, man. Nothing's wrong. Like, this is just what it means. This is a part of being human. Like, wait a minute, this really difficult, awful thing that has befallen me, that I don't appear to have, like, directly be able to figure out that I did something wrong to cause this. Like, this okay? And it's just, like, a part of what it means to be human? And, like, I don't have to, like, there's, like, nothing to fix? And that's a really radically different orientation. And the story that I told was that, like trying to hold the gravity of what it means to be human. All of the, Richard Rohr says all the 10,000 things, they all belong. The really bad stuff that's going on that you don't have any clue why it's going on. And then you're upset with yourself for having no clue while it's going on. Yes, all of that, all part of it. Nothing's wrong. Like that doesn't mean your situation is going the way you want it to. But like this is, what if this is what it means to be human? And I was talking with my daughter once when she was little. She's 16 now. She's actually sick at home today. But we were talking about death. Talking like, talk about death with like an 8-year-old. It's a really fascinating experience, We were actually just listening to some song. And both of my kids have always been particularly, tuned in around music, and they'll kind of look up. And sometimes I remember, when they were younger in particular, some sad song is playing, some particularly poignant song, and I look back and they're crying. And so I'm kind of talking with her like, hey, what's going on? And she said, well, this song is about death. And I was thinking about what it would be like if you would die. Which, by the way, she told me that she thought it would be, she would feel a lot how she felt when Lulu died, when Lulu was our cat. Which I thought was a pretty dang good analogy, actually. And I was like, yeah, you probably would feel a lot like that. But, I'm at the time, I'm about 40, I'll be 47 in March here, so it's about 7 years ago, and I'm like, what do you say, I'm just kind of like, yeah, this sucks. And like, part of being alive is dying. And I don't know. I was just like trying to be sort of like radically present to what she was saying, and to just kind of reflect it back to her, to just like hold up a mirror and be like, I agree with you. This does suck. And I didn't want to launch into something to kind of assuage that. But instead, I wanted to help her hold it. So I kind of like get a shoulder underneath it with her. And we both stand there and kind of held it. And she asked me if we could pray. And I was like, yeah. And the prayer that we ended up saying was just some sort of like facsimile of that. It was like, God, this is like hard. Will you like help us? That's it. And so what you realize a lot of times is that like community, ideally when it's working, is supposed to be some approximation of that, which is us just kind of being like, yeah, this sucks. Like, will you help?
No.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Thanks for sharing that story, my friend.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think that's the key piece of walking each other home is sometimes we know and sometimes we don't. And I think just having the humility to be able to walk through it all in all of our experiences is what's key and important here. Yeah. And going back to my old church days, I remember an old guy named John Wimber, any Vineyard folks in the house. He said the most effective prayer that I've ever prayed in my life is help.
Yeah. I also occasionally
And it's true.
substitute the F word.
Yes. Yes.
God seems to understand they mean the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, if he gets tongues, he gets that. So,
For real.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
You know.
That one's not even complicated.
Right.
The
Yeah.
other ones are-
Sometimes I don't even have to say anything, and I can just like feel the Spirit. Like, I get it, dog.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. That's how God speaks to me. I'm just saying.
Can you see how radical it is that, as scared as everybody is right now? I was thinking about this the other day too. I'm like, we're all so scared right now, man. I mean, that is certainly, there is a current of that. But that was not on purpose.
I'm here for it.
But it feels like such a radical orientation to drill, when frightened, to drill down to, this is hard, like, I accept this, but will you help me?
Yeah.
There are 1,000 responses that come up when I feel afraid. That one is not always on the top of the list.
Right.
I just in contrasting, we were at Jamie's house the other night talking about things in the state of the world. I think the contrast is the point.
Yeah.
It almost feels irrelevant or something, but it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a good piece to end on here, because there's a lot of information in the world right now that has it all figured out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that have it all figured out, and a lot of people that are willing to accept you to hand over your authoritative keys to them so they'll drive the car. And frankly, when things get really overwhelming, we just want someone to drive for us. And sometimes that's necessary. Like, sometimes that's part of it. It's like, can someone think for me, because I'm fried? I can't do this anymore. But what I hope is, and what our conversation has been about, is this space is to be a place where we can acknowledge that, not sort of like glaze over that, and share with each other the wisdom that we have, because the truth is, like, the homeostasis, I think, of the person is light. It is wholeness. It is coming out of that frantic, scattered, insecure space into that feeling of groundedness, wholeness, of being. And I would argue that until we actually begin to have that sort of feeling within ourselves, it's really hard to be able to, like, choose to live and create and facilitate a better, that's a whole asterisk of that better, but a different world to be able to operate in, So as we close and land the plane today, if there's something you wanted to say, jump in. But as we close today, I'm just curious if you could just give people potentially, just like, what does it look like practically to be able to hold that inner liminality and actually sense what it feels like to be a whole person?
Just a little light lifting there.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
You only got 90 seconds. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I think that it's the idea that while I concur with you that finding that place of groundedness is mission critical and necessary to, have a life that is not rife constantly with fear and division and strife. And again, this is that a lot of that principle, it's tempting to think of that on the macro level about culture and so forth, but it also is really what's going on with you. And I mean, I'm working with a lot of people who are struggling with the condition of the world, but their focus on that at times appears to be a cloak for not wanting to address what's going on with them. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it's about standing somehow in between all of this and trying to acknowledge the totality of it, which, I mean, it's liminal. Like I'm not always feeling grounded. That part belongs too. Yeah. I'm not supposed to always feel grounded. And sort of clearing room for the totality of the experience somehow does at times dial us in a way that's really productive and helpful. And also sometimes it doesn't. Nothing's wrong. This is what it means to be human. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Keep coming back. Let's talk again next week. Call me tomorrow. And so a lot of it, maybe that's a good way to end, is that for me it ends up being a posture that I'm trying to express to others in my life. Not only am I saying to you that all belongs, I'm trying to live that in my life. And when shit comes up, and it does, and it is, I want my first posture to be something, or rather my second. My first posture is usually this, still. Mm-hmm. I want my second and my third to be reconsiderations and to open my arms up again. Yeah.
That's really good. Well, I invite you to stand with us. Let's pray, and we'll land this plane here. Yeah, thank you, Spirit, for this space. Thank you for this time that's able to be carved out in our busy, full lives. And I just ask that, God, you would continue to bring clarity to us as we move from this space. That if anything that we talked about today and spoke about resonated with us, I just ask for it to be sticky in our hearts. That this may not just be another thing that we went to with some sound bowls and some dudes riffing and a little Palo Santo still in the air. But that truly this life is for realizing your absolute, unconditional, inherent love within us. And that we would feel that, live into that, express that in the world that so desperately needs people of peace. Help us to realize that peace. Anything that came up today, help us sit with it, even if it causes friction. And as we go, I encourage you to take these things into meditation with you, and that you would allow the Spirit of God to lead you and guide you, and that may God's face shine upon you and give you grace and peace. So be it. Amen. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everyone. By all means, say hello to someone. That's what makes this whole thing a lot more fun. So say hello to somebody, and we will see you back here in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Have a wonderful day.